America watched with bated breath. Protesters outside held up signs. News vans camped out on the courthouse lawn. Everyone expected a guilty verdict. After all, how could you not report your child missing for 31 days unless you were guilty of something terrible? What happened next would divide the country. Reasonable doubt. On the morning of July 5, 2011, after 10 hours and 40 minutes of deliberation spread across 2 days, the jury in the trial of Casey Anthony returned to the courtroom. The tension in courtroom 23 at the Orange County Courthouse was palpable, thick with anticipation. Dread and outrage barely restrained beneath the surface. Families of both the prosecution and defense were present. So were dozens of reporters. Judge Belvin Perry called the court to order. Casey Anthony stood between her attorneys, silent, pale, eyes darting forward. Then the clerk read the verdict. In the case of the state of Florida v. Casey Marie Anthony, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of first-degree murder. A beat of stunned silence. Not guilty of aggravated manslaughter of a child. A second wave of shock. Not guilty of aggravated child abuse. Gasps erupted across the courtroom. Outside, the gathered crowd erupted into anger, some screaming, some crying. Inside, Casey Anthony began to weep silently, leaning into her attorneys. Her defense, Team Baez, Cheney Mason, Dorothy Clay Sims, looked stunned but composed. The young woman accused of the most hated crime in the country had just been acquitted of every major charge. The only counts for which Casey was found guilty were for misdemeanor charges of providing false information to law enforcement. Each carried a maximum penalty of 1 year in jail. Casey Anthony was going home. The reaction across the country was immediate and explosive. Nancy Grace, the TV host who had helped turn the Casey Anthony case into a nightly obsession, stood on air that afternoon and delivered one of her most memorable lines. "The devil is dancing tonight." Social media exploded. Hashtag Casey Anthony trended worldwide. Hashtags like hashtag justice for CAYLEE and hashtag Top Mom lit up Twitter. People were outraged. Too many. This was another O.J. Simpson moment, a case where the evidence screamed guilt, but the system balked. How could this have happened? The jury's logic. In interviews after the trial, jurors defended their verdict. One woman told reporters, "We were sick about it. We cried. We just couldn't prove how she died. And if we couldn't prove that, we couldn't convict someone of murder." Another juror stated, "There wasn't enough evidence to find her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution had painted a compelling picture, but it was a narrative,